If you own a first generation FR-S 86 or BRZ, you know this is a solid sports car at a great price, but it's notoriously underpowered and has a few other areas for improvement. So in this video, we're going to talk about some quick bolt-on mods that you can do to unlock horsepower and solve some problems you maybe didn't even know you had. Across the years, the Subaru's 2-liter F820 engine has produced a little over 200 horsepower at the crank, but that's less than 200 horsepower at the wheels, and that's not terribly exciting. Combine that with a significant and noticeable dip in the torque curve between 3 and 5K RPM, and most people find themselves wanting more power. So by far, one of the most popular mods on this platform is a set of headers. That stock exhaust manifold is very restrictive. A set of headers can unlock between 15 and 20 horsepower and give you a significant bump in torque. Additionally, this is going to really wake up the sound of your F820, so here's a couple things to consider when you're looking at headers. The first thing you're going to want to consider is the difference between equal length and unequal length headers. Now, equal length headers are going to give you the most total gains in power and torque, but they're not going to help solve that problem of the torque dip. All of your gains are going to come at the top end of the rev range, and it's going to make the car sound more like a traditional inline-4 engine. An unequal length header is going to help solve that problem of the torque dip. It's going to improve your mid-range torque. It's not going to give you quite the same top-end gains, but I think this is most important for that spirited street driving. Now, unequal length headers are also going to amplify that boxer sound of the F820, which a lot of people really like. And the second thing to consider is whether you're looking for catted headers or catless headers, which of course are race only. Now, your stock exhaust manifold has one of the catalytic converters integrated, so many of these products are available with an integrated catalytic converter, but you can get that catless option, which of course is going to produce a little bit more gains and quite a bit more sound. Now, there's obviously lots of options for this vehicle, but there's a few brands that are very, very popular. The first one we'll highlight is Tomei. Now, this is a brand that's known for making great products for the JDM market at a great price point. Around $675 will get you either their equal length or their unequal length headers, and they're both catless. Now, that equal length header, of course, is going to give you that racy sound, and that unequal length is going to unlock a little bit more of that deep, rumbly sound. Next up the food chain is the JDL headers, which cost about $750 or $900 with their optional thermal coating. Now, these are a catless, unequal length header that are going to produce a really nice, deep, rumbly sound, very popular in this industry. They also make an equal length header version and a catted unequal length header version, and both of those will set you back $1,250. And the last set of headers we'll mention in this video come from Borla, which is one of the leading manufacturers of exhaust products in the world. You always got a safe bet with Borla. Now, these are unequal length headers, catless. They'll set you back around $700, and they're going to give you also that deep rumbly sound with a little bit of crackle as well. And if you want a more in-depth look at headers and all the exhaust options for this platform, check out our exhaust deep dive video. If you're going to do headers, you absolutely must tune the car. You can't install those headers and expect to get 15 to 20 horsepower or have the car run well if you're not going to tune afterwards. And this counts for if you're doing any other performance mods on the engine as well, you're going to need a tuner. So check out OpenFlash Tablet. Relatively inexpensive solution, simple to use, and there's free tunes out there. Or if you're going to get more serious about tuning or do forced induction, you're going to want to check out the options from EcuTech. Our next up must-have mod is literally where the rubber meets the road, and that's wheels and tires, which might seem like an obvious one, but on this car it's actually even more important. And if you're not going to do any of the performance mods in this video, at least get yourself a good set of tires, because most of the tires that come on this car suck. They're like bricks. They're not going to hook up, and they're not going to give you the best driving performance. You can really enjoy this car a lot just by putting a set of tires on it. But if you are going to do performance mods like power, or you're going to do suspension mods like we're going to talk about later in this video, you ought to get yourself a really good set of tires, because otherwise you're not going to be able to experience the gains from it, because again, if they're not hooking up, it's just not going to work. Now, there are literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of options when it comes to how you can set up wheels and tires on this car. Do you want high camber, low camber? You want it deep offset? Do you want a staggered look, squared look? All of that is variables that you'll have to decide based on everything else that you're doing, and we're happy to help with that, and we've got tons of options at Motoroso.com, so don't hesitate to reach out if you want help picking wheels and tires. Now, if you're making more power, you're probably also making more speed. And if you're making more speed, you're going to need to invest in your brakes next, so you can get everything slowed down and keep it safe. And that also will help you drop your lap times at the track if you're going. Now, if you're just going to be doing street driving, All we recommend is a set of pads. You probably get by with the OEM rotors just fine. And for $130, you can get a set of StopTech sport pads that'll handle most aggressive street driving. Now, if you think you're gonna really do that pretty often and you wanna spend a little bit more, for $180, you can get a set of Hawk HPS pads, which are gonna offer a little bit better initial bite, and they'll stand up to the punishment of the occasional track day. Now, while you're at it, make sure you flush out your brake fluid for a higher boiling point, better brake fluid from a company like ATE or Motul. That'll only cost you about 25 bucks a bottle, but that higher boiling point will stand up to the temperatures that are generated during street or track driving and make the pedal feel much better. Now, if you got a little bit more money to spend and braking performance is important to you, which it should be, you can invest in a set of rotors and pads, and that can have a dramatic effect on the braking performance. Because the rotors are now going to include some features like slotted or cross drilled, which is going to help with heat dissipation or keeping that mating surface between the pad and the rotor clean so that the brakes perform the best they can all the time. Aftermarket rotors are also going to be made from a much higher grade of iron, which is less likely to warp under those high temperature conditions. So StopTech makes a great kit called the Street Axle Pack, which the rotor is both cross drilled and slotted, and it comes with performance sport pads, and that whole setup is super easy to install and it'll only set you back around 580 bucks. Now, if you want more options to choose from on braking, or you want to go even deeper on track performance, check out our braking deep dive video for this application. Our next must-have mod is a throttle module, and this may not be something that's come across your radar before. From the factory, cars are engineered to have a little bit of throttle lag, and this makes the car easier to drive and better on fuel. But if you want it to be truly responsive and sporty and snappy feeling, the throttle module is perfect because it gives you a range of adjustment. It basically helps you override that throttle lag and make the car feel exactly the way that you want it to. And there's three options that we'll talk about here: the AFE Sprint Booster, the Jet Performance Accelerator, and the most popular in the industry that we've seen is the Pedal Commander. The Pedal Commander allows you to actually install it and hide it up under the dash. It does have physical buttons to make the changes, but it also has a Bluetooth app so that you can hide it for a nice stealth install and make changes from your phone. Now, this is also a really good mod for the people that don't want to void a warranty because it has no warranty implications. It's only 300 bucks and it's super easy to install. Next up, it's time to get serious about handling performance with a set of coilovers. The stock shocks that come on your car are provided by the lowest bidder to Toyota to keep the cost down on this thing, and they probably cost Toyota $2 a piece. And that means there's a lot of room for improvement, and you can get a much higher quality damper in the aftermarket. Now, there are a lot of features to look for in suspension, and it can get pretty crazy and expensive and a little bit technical. But key things to look for are going to be things like ride height adjustment. This is going to allow you to control the ride height of the vehicle exactly the way that you want it to. So lower it or raise it exactly where you want it to sit independently front and rear. You're also going to look for things like damping controls, rebound damping, compression damping, high and low speed compression damping. These things are going to control the way that the shock moves through its stroke. And most of your coilover kits are also going to come with adjustable spring collars so you can set the spring preload. Now, there are lots and lots of options, and we're going to make a separate deep dive video just about suspension, but we're going to start with an option here called ST Suspension's STX. We want to mention this one because for $880, this is a ride height adjustable coilover, so you can get the car sitting exactly the way you want it to, but then bolt it in, and it doesn't have any damping controls. It's just set to what they think is the best street performance setting, and that means you bolt them up, set the ride height, and then just enjoy them. Now, if you've already got yourself a set of headers and you want to start tuning the sound, or you don't think you're going to do the headers, but you do want to unlock a little bit more sound, it's time to start looking at catback exhaust systems. Now, catback exhaust systems aren't going to be where you're going to get the biggest power gains, but of course they are going to have a lot to do with how the car sounds. And there's a lot of different options out there, but one of our favorite is the NVIDIA N1. For around $675, it's going to give you a loud, aggressive sound and really unlock that boxer rumble. If you're not looking to make as much sound, you might want to check out the MagnaFlow. At $840, it's going to be made from top quality materials, and they're known for having kind of that mid-range, mid-volume sound that's always dry, crisp, clean, and nice sounding, not going to piss off your neighbors. And a little further up the food chain, one of the most popular options for this application is the Perrin exhaust system, which comes in 2.5 and 3-inch applications. Now, this system's going to be a little bit louder than the MagnaFlow, but not quite as loud as the NVIDIA, super high quality materials and build quality. Now, of course, we're going to dive deeper on all of this in our exhaust deep dive video. Now, this next must-have mod might not actually be a must-have mod because the intake on your car actually works pretty well. It's not going to really hold anything up. But getting more air into the engine is always a good thing. So if you want better throttle response or a little bit of power and sound gains, you can get that induction bark by going with a cold air intake system. And some of them look really cool, so it's kind of an engine bay aesthetic mod as well, like the InGen, which has this nice polished tube. Or you can get the Mishimoto or the AFE Takeda. All of these are going to run you between $300 and $350, and they're going to give you a little bit of gain and a little bit of aesthetics. If you just want the gain from the better flowing filter, we at least recommend installing a K&N or an AFE filter, which will run you about $50 to $70, and they're reusable. You can just clean them and pop them right back in. Now, if making big horsepower numbers is more important to you than things like paying rent or tuition or child support, then the Supercharger is your next must-have mod. There is no faster way to make big power on this platform than with a Supercharger, and there's 3 really good options out there. Now, first up is going to be the HKS, which is a centrifugal style supercharger. That means it looks like a little turbo, but it's still belt-driven. This kit includes an intercooler, and it's only $4,000, which is the best value for a supercharger on this application. But you must know that it is not CARB legal. That means it can't be used in California or any other state where CARB restrictions are in place. Your next option is coming from Edelbrock, and this is going to be a root-style supercharger that mounts on top of the intake manifold. Now, this is now 2 augers that compress the air and push it down into the intake manifold. Very different style of supercharger, but it does essentially the same thing. And at 5650, this supercharger will push your stock BRZ with no other mods on up to 242 wheel horsepower. That's a pretty significant bump from 175-ish. Now, this is CARB compliant, meaning it can be used in all 50 states with no problem with legality. And at the top end of the food chain comes the Vortex centrifugal supercharger. Now, they are pushing 9 PSI of boost that can produce 290 wheel horsepower on a stock BRZ. Now, this system is expensive. It costs $6,800, but this is going to be the biggest bolt-on power you can buy. Now, if you're ready to dive deep into all the different components of the exhaust system that can be modified, head on over to our exhaust deep dive video right here. Now, all the products we talked about are linked in the description of this video, and we're always here to help. You can reach out to us toll-free at 833-MOTOROSO or hit us on live chat at motoroso.com. Thanks for watching.